There is a new surprise 5 times bonus category on the Chase Freedom Flex card. A near miss at an airport between two planes on the runway. We've got video. I can't wait to share that with you. And I've also got a story today as it relates to canceling plans right before spring break with your friends. Is that a good idea or not? I'm going to talk about that and a lot more on this week's edition of the Weekly Pointers News Update. I'm Brandon Boyd with The Brandon Boyd Show. Each week I discuss everything related to credit cards, points and miles, travel, money, finance, and everything in between, and try to catch up on all the news you may have missed over the last week. These videos are easy to follow. Simply look at the topics on the screen. There's a timer down below and timestamps down in the description below. If you do find these weekly videos to be helpful, don't forget to be awesome. Give me a big thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notifications for alerts. You'll also find my referral links down in the description as well. Now, last week I wasn't able to put out a video. I was traveling in California. I spent some time in LA, San Diego, in wine country as well. It was absolutely beautiful. Enjoyed the trip. But we've got some stuff to cover over the last week that you could have missed. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. If you are a Chase Freedom Flex card holder, you'll want to go to the Chase app, and you might find a surprise when you look at the 5 times bonus categories for Q1 of 2025, specifically just the month of March. So in celebration of the 15th birthday of the Chase Freedom card, the Freedom and Freedom Flex cards will earn 5 times points on insurance payments and on tax preparation services during the month of March. Now, this includes also the current 5 times categories that are there as well. So there is that $1,500 limit, and that includes those other categories in that. But it's really important to note that taxes are due by April 15th. So if you're doing tax preparation in March, why not go ahead and collect 5 times points on that? Make sure that your categories are activated for this quarter. If you haven't done that already, then you've already missed out on some killer bonus multipliers there. But if you haven't done it, go ahead and do it. Get your taxes done and use the Freedom Flex to do it. Hyatt has announced their award changes for 2025. I tell you what, this time of the year always hurts because Hyatt changes a lot of categories with their properties. And this is really important, especially if you have those category 1 through 4 certificates or category 1 through 7 certificates that you want to use. Some things move up in category, some move down, but for the most part, it's usually not good news. This year, no different. So these changes will go into effect on March 25th, and if you want to book by then to lock in the current pricing and the current category, you need to do that before these changes go into effect. All in all, 118 properties will be moving up in categories, meaning it's going to increase in price, and it's going to be harder to use those free night certificates depending on where they're changing from. And only 33 properties will be moving down categories and decreasing in price. Just a quick example of this, I mentioned the category 1 through 4 certificates. This is really important. There are a lot of properties that are moving from a category 4 to category 5. Some of those include the Hyatt Regency Newport Beach, the Orlando International Report Hyatt Regency Fort Worth, Hyatt Regency Hong Kong, Hyatt Regency Tokyo, Vancouver, and many more. Now, also increasing from a category 7 to category 8, meaning you won't be able to use those category 1 through 7 certificates. Just a couple of examples. We've got the Grand Hyatt Tokyo in Japan and the Park Hyatt Tokyo in Japan as well. Those are a couple of examples. Now, a bit of good news, there are a handful that are moving from a category 5 to a category 4. Those include the Dream South Beach, the Thompson Atlanta Buckhead, and Park Hyatt Doha. So there are some that are making a little bit of a change that are going to be helpful, that are going to decrease in price. But as we've seen in previous years, more and more are increasing in price and in category, making it harder to pay for, meaning more points to use, and making it harder to use those free night certificates because more and more of those are getting out of reach of those category 1 through 4 or 1 through 7 certificates. It's always a little disappointing to see, but it's not unusual. Let me know if this impacts your travel plans over the next year. It's not great news, but it's just part of the game. At Chicago Midway International Airport, there was a near collision on the runway. We're going to take a look at the video here. This is absolutely amazing to watch. When you see the Southwest Airlines plane getting ready to land, there is another private jet that is literally crossing right in front of it as it's trying to land. Now, some people may look at this and say, well, with all the changes in the federal government right now, a lot of the cuts, did this have something to do with it? In this particular case, no, it didn't. It was actually the fault of the private jet pilot. Basically what happened, they didn't follow the orders to hold and wait for that plane to land from Southwest. They just continued on their path and either ignored the orders or weren't paying attention. I'm sure there's going to be a big investigation into this, and I'm sure that pilot is in a lot of trouble. Nonetheless, this didn't have anything to do with any major changes that we've seen in government cuts, so that's good news. But it is important to note that there have been a lot of near misses, and I try not to think about this when I travel because it can be a little bit scary. But just in the US, since January of 2023, there have been 16 documented near misses. That's a lot. I feel like that's quite a bit. And, you know, we're paying more attention to it just because of the recent crash of Washington, D.C. and some of the other things that we've seen as well. So there's more eyeballs on it, but it's not unusual, as scary as that is to say. Heck, I just got back from a trip where I flew a couple of different times. It's not going to stop me from flying. It saves a lot of time. It's still very safe. So let me know what you think about this. When you saw this video, what did you think about it? It kind of blows my mind when you see it so clearly on video. It's really interesting to see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. You know, spring break is coming up and there are a lot of popular travel destinations for spring break. But in this case, I wanted to take a look at a recent study that was done showing the most dangerous places that most people go to during spring break. So we're going to look at different cities that are most common for people to travel to and then look at how dangerous they really are. So let's look at those now before you start booking. So according to a new study done by IPX 1031, that's a financial institution actually, they have looked at the most dangerous spring break destinations to avoid, according to their research. Number one is New Orleans, Louisiana, followed by Montego Bay, Jamaica, Nassau, the Bahamas, Charleston, South Carolina, Acapulco, Mexico, Memphis, Tennessee, Virginia Beach, Virginia, Jacksonville, Florida, Hilton Head, South Carolina, Tijuana, Mexico, and Key West, Florida. Now, if you're looking at that and you're saying, well, how in the world are they coming to these conclusions? Let's dive into maybe 2 or 3 of these to see where they're getting this number from, because it's actually pretty interesting. These are very popular spots, and heck, they're spots I've been to just within the last few years. So according to the study, New Orleans was the murder capital of the United States in 2022, and you don't want to be the capital for murder in the United States, but New Orleans was that, and that's probably pretty indicative of how they ended up on this list. And this one's interesting because even though Charleston, South Carolina is a beautiful city, I never really thought about it as dangerous. One interesting piece that makes this one is a little bit more dangerous is that the roads in South Carolina and in Charleston are considered one of the most dangerous in the country for drivers. And according to research at Forbes, South Carolina roads rank as the second most dangerous in the United States. So it's not necessarily dangerous like in New Orleans where you have to worry about getting murdered or something like that. But in this case with Charleston, South Carolina, they're just saying, hey, just to get around, it's a little bit dangerous. So it's interesting the research that's done here. I'm going to put a link to this down in the description below so you can take a look at it, because there are different factors for each one of these cities that get them on this list. So take a look at it. Let me know if any of these surprised you. Some of them definitely surprised me, including Key West being mentioned a lot because of shark attacks. Interesting, I guess. I mean, it's surrounded by ocean. That makes sense. But little things like that can make them on this list for the most dangerous places. It's an interesting way to look at things for sure. Let me know what you think. Do these cities deserve to be on this list? And are there any that you think deserve to be on here that aren't mentioned? Let me know. You know, every week on the Weekly Pointers News Update, I like to share a story that relates to travel, credit cards, money, finance, and how those come together with personal relationships, because that's what makes things really interesting. And in this case, we're going to stay on the spring break theme that we just came from in the last story, and we're going to talk about someone that posted online that they were planning a spring break trip with their friends. However, they had to back out at the last second. They want to know if they're in the wrong in this case, so you let me know. I'm going to read this from the perspective of the person that wrote it online, so I'm going to be reading in their voice. I'm a 21-year-old male college student whose spring break is coming up in mid-March. Me and my friends have been making plans for the past few months to make a trip to Santa Monica for a couple of days, since it's only a couple hours drive for us. Originally, the plan was for the 7 of us, including me, to take 2 cars and then split 3 hotel rooms just for a couple of nights before heading back. It's our first vacation where all of us will be over 21, so we're all pretty pumped. However, my girlfriend recently invited me to come visit her family in Maine with her for spring break. I've never met her family, and our relationship has recently become more serious. After we graduate in a few months, we plan on buying an apartment together and moving in together. I told my friends that I had a new spring break plan and wouldn't be able to go to Santa Monica with them anymore. And a couple of my friends got mad at me because without me chipping in, each friend will now have to pay more. Apparently, some of them don't think they'll be able to afford the trip anymore, and they say that if I don't go, they'll have to cancel. However, I think they could easily still afford it and just get 2 hotel rooms instead of 3. I told them this, and they just got more annoyed. So am I being a jerk for spending spring break with my girlfriend, even if it means my friends will have to cancel the trip we had planned? Now, this is a really interesting scenario, again, dealing with relationships. I'm going to give my personal opinion, but I think you could really go a lot of different ways on this one, so my opinion is not the only one by any means. For me, I don't like pulling the rug out from anybody and canceling at the last second for anything, all right? If the relationship is truly serious or just becoming serious, then you'll want to take a trip to meet their family at some point anyway at a different time. It doesn't have to be during spring break week. You could take a long weekend, fly out there and meet them if it is truly that important. Or, the spring semester is going to be over pretty soon right after spring break. Why not wait just a few more weeks and do it that way? But I wouldn't bail on people at the last second, especially if there's a financial implication involved there that's going to keep people from being able to travel. Could they make alterations with their plans? They probably could. But in this case, it's not an emergency. Now, if there's an emergency and there's a death in the family or somebody's sick, that's certainly a different case. This is more of just a preference, right? They want to do this versus that. And in that scenario, I don't believe on bailing people at the last second. I could be wrong. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever been in a scenario like this? I'm not going to be mad either way because I think you could literally go in either direction here. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always on the Weekly Pointers News Update, I like to end the show on a good food deal. This week is a really good one. This is free food from Jimmy John's. So on March 4th, head to Jimmy John's where they're giving away $1 million worth of their new toasted sandwiches for free. All you need to do is join their Freaky Fast Rewards membership, and that is free to do. And then you use the promo code Toasted Tuesday at checkout to score a free 8-inch toasted sandwich. Now, some of the toasted sandwiches that are involved with this include the chicken bacon ranch, roast beef and cheddar, and the ultimate Italian. Hey, free food, download the app. Make sure you go there on March 4th. Get a free Jimmy John's sandwich. I'm excited about it. There's one that's like 5 minutes from my house, so I'll definitely be checking that one out. Let me know if you plan on taking advantage of this one on March 4th. This has been a very fun episode. We covered a lot of different topics. Unfortunately, we had to talk about the Hyatt changes with their category changes. That's never fun. Make sure you check out the Chase app. If you're a Chase Freedom or Freedom Flex card holder, make sure you check that out for the 5 times multiplier category on tax preparation services. That's going to be really important. And let me know what you think about the story of the guy that changed spring break plans at the last second with his friends. Was that a good idea? Tough call. I gave my opinion on it. Maybe I'm wrong. Keep in mind, if you are interested in any of the cards mentioned in today's video or any card for that matter, make sure you apply using my referral link down in the description below. And every time you do that, it does help support the channel. And I can't thank you all enough for doing that so far. If you found this video helpful or mildly entertaining, don't forget to be awesome. Give me a big thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notifications for alerts. And when you click on the Brandon Boyd Show, click, you are going to get the latest information on credit cards, points and miles, travel, money, finance, free toasted sandwiches, and everything in between, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. We'll see you soon.